Hi, and welcome to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno, and I have been on a carnivore diet now known as the Lion Diet for nearly 4.5 years, and it has done wonders for my health. It has changed my life in ways like I never thought it would change. But today, we're here to talk about retired Marine Nick Bonadies and his experience on a carnivore diet, and he's even doing the Lion Diet, and it has just been truly remarkable. I hope you enjoy it. Real quick, let me tell you about Carnivore Crisps. Carnivore Crisps is one of my favorite snacks that has been a wonderful gift for me on the carnivore diet because there are just times when I don't feel like having to make a whole steak or to cook something and I want a little snack, but I don't want to break my diet. Carnivore Crisps are fantastic for that. Grass fed beef, Redmond real salt, purified water, those are the only three ingredients. You can't go wrong. They've also been a wonderful supporter of my channel since I was very small. So if you'd like to order your own, please go to carnivorecrisps.com and order yours now using my discount code Dante, and you'll save 10% on your order. Now, on with the video.
First off, I appreciate you having me on, Dante. You were a big inspiration in me getting involved in the carnivore diet and eventually going to lion diet. I watched a lot of your videos and watched you going along the process, and what you're doing for the carnivore community is awesome. So, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this as well to hopefully help somebody out. So, appreciate everything you're doing.
Well,
So,
thank
my
you.
story is you got it. You got it. My story is probably like a lot of others in a lot of respects. Years ago, I went into the Marines and I came out really physically fit. And I was physically fit for well the whole time I was in there and on and off while I came out as well. I got injured in the Marines. I injured my back pretty bad and my right shoulder, and as well as some other things too. But those were the two things that slowed me down a little bit. And then I became your typical yo-yo dieter. I would cut calories. I went on keto, low carb, you name it. And I was great at losing weight. I could lose a lot of weight when I was doing that. The problem was maintaining it. Um, and when I was doing that, I would get back in the gym some. I'd start running and started to feel really good. And then somehow I always ended up slipping, having that cheat meal, if you want to call it. And that was it. It was a downhill slide from there. And about, oh, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 months ago now, so probably in the September, October timeframe, my knees started to hurt so bad. I had a lot of inflammation in my body. At the time, I didn't know it was inflammation, but the inflammation was so bad that the doctors were, especially my right knee, the doctors were uh, going in there and injecting fluid in there and then pulling it out. So they were pulling all the excess fluid out. They were doing that about once a month because it hurt so bad and it was filling up so fast. And they were also doing cortisone shots as well in there. That was also in my right shoulder. So the inflammation was across my entire body and I couldn't take it anymore. I hit the point where I started asking the docs for some strong meds. I was on daily pain meds
Mm.
every single day, and I was on that for pretty much since I got out of the Marines. It was about 25 years. I'm surprised that my stomach hasn't uh, had more problems over the years. And and then I came across Carnivore. I came across Dr. Ken Berry and you and Carrie from Homestead How and some others out there. And I started watching some of the videos and hearing people talk about that. Well, hey, if you ate carnivore, it reduces the inflammation. And I thought, what do I have to lose? So
Yeah.
I did that, and the rest has been history since then.
Okay. So, what kind of pain meds did they have you on?
They had me on. I tried. So let me go back. I have sort of an addictive personality. When I was
I
in the
know what that's
Marines.
like.
Oh yeah, I found out the worst addiction is to sugar. By the way, I found out that I am. I mean, sugar has got me. Big time. I guess you could say. So the only way I've been able to maintain this and do this is to abstain 100% from any kind of sugar and stuff. With that being said, though, I was drinking a lot while I was in the Marines, like a lot of Marines. And when I got out and had kids, I decided that I was done. So I stopped drinking. And so I've always been very careful with pain meds and stuff like that. But they had me on everything from Percocets to Advil, naproxen. I was doubling and tripling stuff up. What was some of the other ones out there? Oh, I'm drawing a blank on some of the Oxy, things like that. But it wasn't dulling the pain at all. I had trouble walking. I could barely walk up and down the stairs. My joints were full of fluid, which I didn't know. My back, when I injured my back in the Marines, I've got herniated discs in there. And just to give you an idea how bad that is, I went on vacation with my family probably, oh, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And we were there for 2 weeks in Hawaii. And the first day I got there, I threw my back out and never left the hotel room except to go to the hospital to get pain meds. So it happened all the time. I was injuring my back and throwing it out. I'd reach for something, and that was it. My right shoulder, when I was in the Marines, I broke it in 9 places and then separated it. It came out of the socket. So I've always had problems with that. So if it wasn't one body part, it was another body part. So the pain was to dull all that stuff there. And I didn't realize as well that I had somewhat lost hope. So going back, 8 or 9 months ago, I had basically given up. I couldn't. The pain was too much to bear, and I'm a guy that can handle a lot of pain, but it was enough that it was really causing me problems. So I went back, and the doctors wouldn't give me anything more. They said, we can't give you anything more because you can get addicted to it. I wasn't necessarily addicted to it, but I was doing anything that I could to try to get that pain to a reasonable, rate where I could actually move around and do the things that I know I should be doing. Whether it was doing something simple like mowing the lawn or going out and hanging out with people, doing fun stuff, if that makes sense. And the carnivore has eliminated that 100%. It's amazing. Probably, actually, I can still remember I was out grilling probably about a month after I started, and I was standing there. I was grilling some food. A bunch of my family was over. They all thought I was nuts. Now they're all doing it, by the way. But um, I I remember standing there, and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, I have no pain in my knees." And it was gone. It was 100% gone. And I started Carnivore December 1st of 2024, and probably right around the beginning of January to mid-January, the pain has left and it has never come back. It's been gone 100%, with the exception of it did come back. I went 100% lion diet in probably mid-January, and I tried to reintroduce a couple of things back in, and it came back with vengeance. So that pain and that inflammation came back. So then I switched back to lion diet, and it hasn't come back since.
That's good. That was the reason I asked about what pain meds they were, because I was interested to know if it actually helped with the pain or if it just made you feel kind of high and not, think about the pain as much, but it was still there. Because that's the thing, is that you don't want to be woozy and stumbling around and still being in some pain. The idea is to get rid of the pain.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like certain drugs that I was taking, especially if I was doing things like muscle relaxers and other things, would knock me out. I'd take them and then I'd fall asleep. And the pain meds themselves, I must have an iron stomach because they never bothered my stomach. But with that being said, I felt like they weren't doing anything. It almost felt like they were giving me placebos, and it literally felt like it didn't dull the pain at all. And but I could feel the effects of some of them depending on what I was doing. And I at certain times too, especially when I landed in the hospital, some of the stuff that they would do is instead of pill form, they would inject it. And that I could feel a little bit better. That actually dulled the pain a little bit, but it was a quick fix and it would go right away. And I am so happy to be off of that stuff because, again, I don't know what that's done to my stomach over the years. All those pain meds. I took them for, well, I've been out of the Marines for 30 years now almost. So I've been taking them for 30 years straight. And
Hmm.
every single day, multiple times a day, with the exception of the last 6 months. I haven't touched them in 6 months now.
That's good. I noticed you were a good bit bigger in your earlier pictures. What was your weight when you started doing carnivore, and how tall are you, and what's your weight now?
Good question. So I'm 6 feet even, although I feel like I shrunk an inch, but I am 6 feet. And the older I get, I seem to come down a little. I'm just kidding around. I started in mid of last year, so mid 2024. I weighed in at 300 pounds even. That would have been around June timeframe of 2024. And then I started keto, and I had done keto before. I started keto, and I did keto for probably 3 months or so. So maybe from, let's say, June until September. I don't have the exact time frame there, and lost 40 pounds doing keto. then actually I lost a little bit more. I lost about 50 pounds. And then true to my trend here, I started putting weight back on. I gave myself a it was one cheat meal that went to two, that went to three, that went to four. And it got so bad that this time it was the worst ever, I think. It got so bad that during that time frame, I was eating ice cream every night. After this is the between the keto and the carnivore. So basically from September of last year to December 1st when I started, ice cream, candy, cookies, cake, it didn't matter. And not only would I eat that, but I would stuff myself to where I was felt like I was going to throw up. It was like I couldn't get enough, even though it didn't feel good. And then that's when I woke up one day and thought, man, what am I doing? This is crazy. So I lost 40 pounds. So I started at 300 pounds. Then when I started carnivore, and now I weigh 185 pounds now. So I lost a total of 115 pounds. 75 of it or so was from carnivore. So from December 1st until now, and Lion Diet. So carnivore and Lion Diet was the last 75 pounds. I got about another 10 pounds to go until I think I hit my goal weight somewhere right in there.
Oh, you sound pretty good to me at 185 for 6 feet tall. That's pretty good. And then being able to get out of that constant pain. I mean, that's miraculous. I know a lot of soldiers who have talked about carnivore. I don't know if you've ever heard of Larry Allhands. He's the carnivore soldier, but he does a YouTube channel that's really big for helping retired military or former military folks to be able to regain their life. I was wondering if he had any impact on your journey.
I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever seen any of his videos or anything. So no, he didn't. It was watching guys like you, for example. I remember when I could see you standing in your kitchen cooking up a steak, and you had kind of the beard going and the long hair and everything. Now I see we're in good company, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, so no, it was not from him. It was just watching videos. And then what happened is about a month into carnivore, like a lot of people, they have to make a decision. I made a decision and said to everybody that was in my family that is around, hey, I'm going carnivore. I'm doing me. And you guys have to sort of fend for yourself. I'll make meats for everybody, but you got to figure the rest out and veggies and stuff like that. So I stayed on carnivore, and then it wasn't long before all of a sudden my sister, my little sister, and my mom and my girlfriend and other people were like, "Hey, okay, what are you doing?" Because they saw the weight loss, and when the pain went away and the inflammation, because they were part of that, they saw that my whole life. Um, when that went away is when it sort of opened up their eyes, and then other things started to happen and went away too. I've got a list of things that I could go through, not only for me but for them. They've been on carnivore now 5 or 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And it's made a drastic difference. It has literally given me back my life.
Well, talk about your changes because the people listening to this, that's when they hear some of the things that are on their list, it kind of gives them hope that there's something that they can do. So I know it was key for me when I heard Jordan Peterson mention, he mentioned things that I didn't have anything to do with, but he mentioned some things that I did. And I was so hopeless talking to doctors. Like I've listened to my mother-in-law and my mother are just on this merry-go-round with doctors going to see this specialist and that specialist, and nothing ever gets accomplished. It's so frustrating. But when I found out that there was a chance that I could change things with nutrition, I said, well, I'm going all in because it's either this or bust. I was ready to die. So what all has it helped you with? And when you can
Sure,
talk
yeah,
about your family's experience too.
sure, absolutely. When I went in, so let me back up for 1 second. I went into the doctors again for my knee. And every time I go in, they check my blood pressure and all that. So I was on a lot of medicines. I was on two different meds for blood pressure. I was pre-diabetic. I had obviously a whole bunch of joint, meds or pain meds and stuff like that. They had me on an iron supplement because for whatever reason, ever since I've been a young kid, I've had low iron, which by the way, has swung the pendulum and now it's perfect. I can talk about my blood work. I just had it done the other day. But when I went into the doctors, they were getting ready to drain my knee again, and they did some other blood work. The doctor came and said, "Hey, your blood pressure is so high, we have to put you on another medicine." So it would have been three medicines. And I remember sitting there smiling and said, "Oh, okay, put me on the medicine." And I thought to myself, "I'm not touching this. I'm done." That was the day that I made the decision. that it was time to go carnivore. And I remember I got home. They filled the meds right there at the doctor's for me, and I came in and threw them in a drawer and never touched my meds again. That day I was done 100%. The pain meds I went for another week or so, and then eventually was able to get off of those. I didn't put two and two together that the pain wasn't hurting anymore, which is why I, stopped taking them until a little bit later. But that was what put me over the edge because they were treating everything with meds. And I never knew, although conceptually it makes a lot of sense, but I never knew that nutrition played such a big impact into, the overall health, I guess you could say. Again, it makes total sense. But when they put you on a med, they do not plan to take you off of that medicine. They put me on the meds, and they also said they were getting ready to put me on statins. And I thought, there's no way I'm done with this stuff. And what's cured or what's gotten better since I changed my nutrition to carnivore and lion diet? I put a list together. I'll just run down it real quick. Well, first of all, I lost 115 pounds, which that in and of itself helps. I run down the stairs now instead of like holding both handles trying to hobble down.
Yeah.
I even changed my profession to where I'm outside working, um, and using my body, if that makes sense, to
Absolutely.
move around instead of sitting behind a desk every day and stuff like that. My knee pain, which on a scale of 1 to 10 was, let's call it a 15. I mean, it was excruciating, especially my right knee. The left one was bad. My right knee was 100% worse. My shoulder pain, again, it broke and it separated. It broke in 9 places and separated. When they reset it, the only way to reset it was they broke it back into place. So it broke a couple of more
Hey.
pieces when it broke back into place. In the X-rays, you can still see that there's broken pieces, like in the arm, or in the shoulder, which is why it hurt so bad, I guess. My back pain, that was the worst out of all of my pain. The back pain, and it was also the most unpredictable. My shoulder always hurt, for example, but my back pain, I'd go to reach to get a glass of water or something like that, and that was it. I'd be done. Um,
What, one of those
the
like
other,
shooting pains where it's like electricity just hit you? I've had that in the past too.
oh yeah,
Haven't had that
it
in
it it
years.
hurts. I tell you what, that is the best thing. I haven't had that now in 6 or 7 months since I started carnivore, and I feel reborn. I mean, it's amazing. And the other one that I never talked to anybody about, but it scared the heck out of me, is I had what I would consider like a dementia. I'm 52 now, but I've had it for several years, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And actually, when I came home from the doctor that day, when I decided that that was it, I was doing carnivore. I asked my girlfriend, I said, "Hey, do you see this or is it just me? Do you see me forgetting words and recalling words where I'm having trouble and things like that?" And she stopped and she said, "Yeah, I see it." I said, "Has it gotten worse?" And she said, "Yes." And so then I said, "Okay, I need another opinion on this because that scared me. That runs in my family, the Alzheimer's and the dementia." And I thought, man, I'm too young for this. So I called my younger sister and said, "Hey, do you see this?" And she said, "Yep." And she said, "I struggle from the same thing." That part in and of itself, to me, is even more important than the pain going away. That has gone away 100%. It's
Awesome.
gone away. It took some time. It took probably 3 or 4 months for it to go away. It has gone. I mean, it's gone 100%. Oddly enough, I tried to reintroduce coffee. I've always been a black coffee drinker, and I stopped coffee when I started carnivore, and I tried to reintroduce it. And as soon as I reintroduced it, even one cup brought that back. So I don't know if coffee was the only trigger, but for me, I can't drink black coffee. I love it, but it brings that back. And that is an amazing feeling to know that, I guess, that being able to eliminate that. Again, I don't know if it was actually dementia or an early Alzheimer's or whatever, but to be able to have conversations and not to lose words and forget. And I mean, that is amazing because I was afraid what's going to happen to me in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because it runs in my family and everybody ends up in a home because they're losing their mind, if that makes sense. I had no idea that it was food related.
Yeah.
If somebody had told me that before, I would have thought they were kidding.
Right. Well, you mentioned being pre-diabetic. What was your A1C back then? Obviously over 5.7, but
Yep,
Y-
it
y-
was seven. It was seven, six or seven, seven something, if I can remember right.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
Alzheimer's has now become known as type 3 diabetes.
really.
So it seems to me that pre-diabetes or even type 2 diabetes can be a sign of leading into
Mm,
Alzheimer's. So it's just a progression of the same illness, and it's caused by too much sugar in our system, insulin resistance.
yeah, it's crazy. I just had my blood work done, and my A1C was 5.2, if I can remember right.
Yeah,
Which
perfect.
I think is good if I can remember right. And
Yes.
I'm learning about all this stuff.
Me too.
Um, a few other things, by the way, is the pre-diabetes. I just mentioned that is gone. That's all leveled itself out. I test my blood sugar every so often. It's always, right in line with where it's supposed to be. I do get asked. I've commented on posts on different people's, social media stuff. I've seen a lot of people concerned about gout. And I had gout. I never had it until I was an adult. My brother used to get it, and I used to laugh at him. I thought, "How can your big toe hurt or whatever,
Yeah.
and shut you down?" So I started getting gout, and the doctors kept telling me it was from shellfish and too much red meat. So guess what? Going carnivore, it made me a little nervous with the red meat,
Yeah.
especially. I have not had gout now in months and months and months. It is gone, and it's not caused by red meat, because if it was, I'd have gout everywhere. It's good, and when they check my uric acid levels, which is what creates gout, they're right in line. So that is gone as well.
That's fantastic, and you're not the first one to mention that to me about gout. And it is one of those things like people with high cholesterol, people with heart history, people with gout history. They're all afraid to try this. I mean, my concern when I went into it was the amount of salt that I would be consuming because I had high
Yep.
blood pressure. But yet, even though I was consuming copious amounts of salt, I wasn't eating any sugar, and I didn't realize that that was the trigger that caused people to retain salt and have the problem that caused high blood pressure. But if your body is pushing those electrolytes out because there's no sugar telling the kidneys to hold on to it, then you're not going to have those retention problems. So, yeah, it's amazing how much misinformation we have had. And when you go back through the history, you kind of find out why when you start to learn about who funded certain studies and what
Mhm.
certain people in the Seventh Day Adventist movement had to do with our studies and things like that, as well as the companies that supported the studies, like that Ansel Keys did, were the cereal companies and the sugar companies
Uh,
and people who wanted to push seed oils on us, which are nothing more than engine lubricant that they just wanted to find a way to sell more of. It's a rabbit hole once you find out how we got to where we are. And you talked about yo-yo dieting and things like that, and who hasn't had to deal with that? Because we've all been listening to the same nutritional information for the past 40 plus years and thinking, well, this is the way to go. I need to eat more vegetables. I need to eat more fruit. I need to eat more bread
mhm.
and whole wheats and all these things that we were following. And it turns out that it's the absolute opposite of what the truth is. So it can be an eye
Yeah.
opener when you find out, and it's just like you said, your family were worried about you when you first started. So tell me what you told me that they had some progress, if you don't mind, or if you don't think they would mind you sharing some of the things that have changed for them since they've started it.
Sure, absolutely. One more thing, real quick. I just wanted to bring
Sure.
up because this actually ties into my family here in a second too. I had some other things too that went away. Like I didn't have bad acne, but it went away. I had depression, that went away, things like that. The weirdest one that went away for me, or that I never heard anybody talk about, ever since I was a young kid, I've only been able to breathe through one nostril, and it switches. So one day it's one nostril, the other day it's the other nostril. You can imagine being in the Marines, running all those miles and stuff, trying to breathe through one nostril. That is gone. um so I can breathe through both, and it's amazing. I have no idea how nutrition fixed that, but it did. So going to my family real quick, let's see, my mom started carnivore, and my sister started carnivore on the same day. They were like, we're doing this. um, my mom had some inflammation in her knee. One of her knees was really bad. and also in part of her hand, and that is gone 100% for her. So that went away. She also had chronic watery eyes to where they would water a lot. That has gone away. My sister, she had an Achilles tendon problem to where when she got up, and my mom was the same way with her knee, she had to get up and like stretch out and move around to try to get it going. That went away for my sister. It went away almost immediately. I mean, it was amazing. And same with my mom's inflammation. And then my sister had the same watery eyes. The thing that they told me the other day, it was probably 2 weeks ago, is they said, one of them said to the other one, we just all happened to be in the room. It was my mom said that her allergies, my mom has always had really bad allergies when pollen and stuff like that hits. She said, I don't have allergies this year. And my sister said, what are you talking about? You've always had them. And we started sort of thinking, and my sister said, oh my goodness, I don't have them either. So I kind of watched them a little bit. I was on allergy meds. I take them every single year. So about 2 weeks ago, I eliminated the allergy meds just to see what would happen. I don't have allergies. They are gone. So all three of us that have had allergies every single year, and I get them pretty bad, where I sneeze all the time, my eyes are watering. You get that sort of scratchy throat and everything. It's gone 100%. And that's pretty amazing. Again, all because of the diet. My mom told me the other day too, she said, I am more full of energy now than I have been in years. She's always a go, go, go type of person. She never sits. But she is like, she's on crack almost, I would say, just like nonstop going, going, going. And it's the carnivore that's doing that for her. So
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I've experienced a lot of that, even the allergy thing. I wouldn't say mine are 100% gone, but mine were so bad, I thought, anything is better. I used to take Xyzal, which is levocetirizine. I remember my doctor describing it as cetirizine on steroids, so it was a really strong version of it. And they used to only prescribe it as, it had to be prescribed. It wasn't something you could buy over the counter like it is now, and it didn't really even help. I would still constantly be stuffed up, and I had that problem where it was one side or the other a lot of times as well. But now, like yesterday, I was out cutting the grass, and normally I would have to be wrapped up with the mask on and
Yeah.
goggles and everything else, and then I would still be miserable the rest of the day after that. Now I can get out there and I don't have any problems. Used to have cat allergies, and now we have a cat that lives in the house with us, and heck, she's been sleeping in the bed with me some. I notice occasionally I'll have a sneeze or something like that, but I don't feel like watery eyes and itchy skin and all the other things. So I've been amazed at the changes in those allergies and the amount of pain. I mean, I used to have the knee pain like you had. So, anybody watching this, I know that if you're stumbling on this video for the first time, or you're searching for answers in your life, and you're having any of these pains or these allergy issues or these brain fog issues, or feeling like you're maybe getting some sort of dementia, uh, just give it a thought that you're going to be on the Dr. Merry-go-round if you want to keep going that route
Mhm.
and getting told, well, you got to go see this specialist, and then that specialist doesn't have any information from the previous doctor, and then they got to start over again, and you just constantly keep going and seeing doctors and not really getting any answers. Whereas the answer can be found in nutrition, as Nick has found, and I have found, and thousands of other people are finding, is getting all this junk out of our system. I mean, what do you think about the normalization of food that is not food? That's pretty much what I think the big problem has been for over the past 50 years or more.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we all grew up the same way, right? You got this food pyramid, and you should be eating your veggies and your fruits and stay away from red meat. Not Don't eat too much salt. You can have some, sugar in moderation if you want to call it. And it's a scam. I mean, it is amazing when I eliminated that stuff, as you know, and a lot of your other listeners, when I mean, here's what I eat pretty much every day. I eat ruminant meat, um, which is the red meat, basically, ruminant meat, and I eat salt. That's pretty much it, and water. And now some people do bacon, and they do some chicken and some other things, um, and that works for them. But when I eliminated all the processed foods and the grains and the sugars and all that stuff there, it literally transformed my life. I wish I knew about this years ago.
I know.
I had no clue. I mean, we've all been lied to, and it takes a little bit to wrap your head around that. And then as you start to uncover it, it's amazing that everything. It's crazy whether it's big pharma, the government, working together, however that works. Everything that's come down about food. I mean, everything that I have heard is wrong, and it takes a little while to wrap your head around that. And to say, oh, I'm supposed to get more fat in my diet, things like that, and uh, it's amazing. I can use my girlfriend as an example. She was doing keto when I was doing carnivore. She had her A1C was 11.6, and I believe it's down to a 5.3 now.
Oh,
She
wow.
switched over to she switched to carnivore. So she switched January 1st from keto to carnivore, and she was 11.6, if I can remember right at the beginning of January, and she's 5.3 now. Lost 50 pounds, and all because of eliminating those foods. So it clears brain fog, it takes out inflammation, it helps your diabetes. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, that's a lifesaver. I mean, she went from being a full
Yeah.
blown type 2 diabetic to non diabetic at that level. Anything
Yep.
under 5.7 is not diabetic. So, I mean, you get that diagnosis and you feel like, well, especially me when I saw my father who had diabetes in his, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s. And he used to do these pool exercises. And then he came home one day and he had a little
Mm.
blister on his toe, and then that turned into a gash in his toe, which turned into having to chop his foot off at the
Mm.
below the ankle. So he had his ankle, and then that just kept getting worse until they finally cut his leg off above the knee. And by then he had been laying in bed for 2 years, and it's like that's a miserable way to
Mm.
go, and it's a miserable life to
Yeah.
live while you have it. And you get that diagnosis, especially if you've lived with somebody who's been through it and died that way. It's like it's like getting a terminal illness. Even though they talk about, the
Mm.
doctors will say, "Oh, you can manage it. You can just keep taking insulin and you'll be fine."
Mm.
But the problem is the insulin actually continues to build up insulin resistance in your body, so you keep needing more and more, and you're not getting rid of the sugar problem. So it's kind of like adding fuel to the fire to manage the problem, and it can be reversed. And it's been done by
Yeah.
hundreds of people that I've talked to, and probably thousands of people that I haven't talked to, by going this route. So that's amazing. I love hearing that for your sister. I love that you were able to bring yours down to a normal level. And I can't say enough about it. So I'm so thankful that you're here to come and share your story. Especially being former military and having been in better shape and finding out what it's like to get on the standard American diet and see what it does to you, and to be able to get on carnivore and see how it fixes everything. So you're lion diet now,
Yes. Yep.
okay? And so for people who are hearing this, I know that you mentioned ruminant meats, the red meats, and I'll just say that ruminant animals are the animals that have multi-chambered stomachs, like cows and what do you call it, lamb. And there's a number of other ones on there. Those are my two big ones: is beef and lamb. Of course,
Mhm.
buffalo, bison, elk, venison. Some of those are leaner meats like elk and venison, so I try to get things that have more fat. But I did a lot of venison when I was early on this diet. Uh, why do you think it is that lion diet is the specific thing that's so important for your situation, whereas some people do carnivore where they do eat a lot of chicken and bacon and pork and seafood and other things, and some people even eat cheese, and some people do well that way?
Yeah. So let's talk about the cheese first.
Craving the perfect steak? With Schwank grills, you get mouthwatering flavor in minutes. Schwank's infrared technology cooks fast, locks in juices, and delivers unbeatable taste. Proudly handcrafted in Augusta, Georgia, Schwank grills are built to make every bite unforgettable. Schwank grills, American made, steak perfected. Use my link in the description to order yours now, and you get a free grill cover to boot. Now, back to the video.
I'm a binge eater. I'm an emotional eater, a binge eater, and I know from past experience that I never had my mindset right, I guess, when I was doing, let's say, keto or low carb or cutting calories or any of that stuff. When I was doing keto, for example, I would overdo the cheese. I almost used it, or dairy, for example, sour cream, cheese, that type of thing. I would use it more as part of my meal instead of a garnishment. Well, I've got that addictive personality, like I mentioned. I don't do things, halfway. I got to do it's
Right.
one extreme or the other. Um, so when I went into carnivore, to me, I said, I am not going to do any dairy. Although when I first started carnivore, I was okay with butter. I said, okay, I'll do that because I needed the fat, and I was still learning and stuff. So I went into carnivore, and my mindset was that dairy can't be part of that carnivore for me because it's a trigger. I've seen too many people that eat cheese and it triggers something in their brain. I don't know exactly what portion of their brain to where they want more and more and more. And I figured, if I don't cut that out and that triggers that for me, then it's going to put
Hmm.
me on that slippery slope and then I'm going to be snowballing downhill. So when I started carnivore, I was doing everything from steaks to ground beef, the fatty ground beef. I was doing some chicken wings. I was even doing some pork loins and stuff like that, some bacon, eggs, and butter, sort of that combination there. Maybe a couple of other things in there. Zero dairy except for the butter. And then we as my mom and my sister started to get into this, we would get together and we'd all have meals together. We'd each bring something, if that makes sense, because we were all eating carnivore. And I ate some chicken wings that were at my mom's house that came from one of the stores, and I didn't feel good the next day. It just didn't feel right, and I could tell that it was that because I like chicken wings, and so I ate a lot of them. Oh, and fatty ribs. I love ribs, but that's a whole different than the beef ribs. Um, so I eliminated chicken, and when I eliminated the chicken, I realized that even though my inflammation was gone and I was feeling better, I actually felt even better. So then I eliminated pork and eggs, and I eliminated everything 100% and switched to lion diet. I was watching your videos, I was listening to Michaela Peterson, and I thought, it's not a big transition from what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
So I switched to lion diet. I got rid of the butter and used tallow instead. I primarily eat steaks, fatty ribeyes, either fatty ribeyes. I do a little bit of ground beef. I do short ribs. I do beef ribs, brisket, things like that. And that's really what I eat right there. That and then salt. I just still do a lot of salt. I know some people, whenever they go on lion diet, do a little bit less salt. My body needs it and craves it, so I use a lot of salt. And I've been on lion diet for a while now. I've tried to reintroduce stuff back in just to see what would happen because I feel like I've got a great base point now that I'm on lion diet. So I tried reintroducing, like I mentioned, black coffee. I like coffee. It doesn't work for me. Coffee's out. I tried reintroducing in chicken wings, and for whatever reason, the chicken wings do not work for me.
Yeah.
So, and I'm happy. I tell you what, my body, it's interesting years ago or pre-carnivore, pre lion diet, it craved, carbohydrates and sweets and you name it. You know what I crave now? A big fat juicy steak. It's the fatty ruminant meats. I mean, I look forward to it. I primarily eat just one time a day. Sometimes if I'm hungry, I'll eat twice, but I usually just do a dinner and I look forward to the next dinner. I've got brisket ready to go today, for example. So um, it's worked great for me. It's eliminated everything that I mentioned, all the different ailments and stuff like that. I feel better now at 52 than I did when I was 25. I'm
Yeah.
mentally sharper and clearer, which I never thought was possible because of everything going on, with my head there, and my body is it feels so good. I mean, I can run around, I can jump up and down, I feel great. I love the fact that I wake up every single morning with an awesome outlook on life, and I believe that the carnivore and the lion diet has given me years and years back to my life. I don't know how long I would have gone. I would have been one of those people, especially because of the aches and pains, that at some point probably would have landed in a wheelchair or not being able to really move. And you know that is if you can't move, you start to um, I hate to say it this way, but if you can't move much, you sort of start to die off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening to me. It's not like that anymore.
Well, you know that you mentioned the coffee too, and I will say that I went for first year and a half or more. I can't even remember how long it was without touching coffee, and I got some of the best sleep I ever got. I would fall asleep immediately when I would go to bed. I'd wake up immediately at 4 in the morning, which was surprising because I was never an early riser. And you know, I've been in an experiment lately, basically because my wife started doing carnivore for the first time about 3 months ago, where she was serious about it, but she didn't give up coffee. And since I make everything for her to eat, usually I also make her coffee. And I got to where it was just easier for me to go ahead and make coffee for myself rather than hot water and stuff like I used to do. And I have noticed a huge difference, and my sleep has been disrupted. Some of the brain fog comes back. It does vary depending on the type of coffee, but it doesn't matter. Overall, I still notice the drawbacks to it. Now, some people say they do fine on a carnivore diet with coffee, and it's like they need to have it. But I will say that for many people out there, that would definitely be worth something considering. If you're having a hard time sleeping, if you're having that brain fog, if you're having that sluggishness, if you feel like you absolutely need it when you wake up in the morning, it's because it's keeping you in that cycle. So it's worth giving it a shot if you can break free from that addiction. And it's something that I'm having to do again. So I understand exactly what you mean there. Would you say that carnivore diet, specifically maybe even lion diet, has taught you more impulse control? Because that's one of the things that's common among people I notice who have addictive personalities, because I was definitely in that category and I had very poor impulse control.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is 100%. Let me give an example. Let's talk about cravings, for example. What would happen in the past if I smelled something that smelled good, or if we were somewhere. I was at a barbecue yesterday, for example, and they had pasta out and things like that. My impulse control was not very good. It was I always somehow reasoned in my mind with something, especially food, where oh I can have just one. I'll eat just one today, you know. And I don't know, say it was a Friday night, I'll eat just one. And somehow when I woke up Saturday morning, there was something in my brain that said, well, I already messed up the weekend, so I might as well eat today and eat junk today. And then guess what? Somehow I reasoned it, and it's like I talked myself into it. You know, it was I don't know, and but I have zero impulse control now. I mean, sorry, the opposite. I've got 100% control over it. I have zero issues with it at all.
There you go.
Oddly enough, I don't even crave one single thing that I liked in the past. And and things like that, even if I smell something, I remember how, oh, I used to eat that and like it, but my body doesn't want it. I just walk past it and it doesn't make a difference. So I've got full control. It's the first time in my life, 52 years, it's the first time I've ever had control over sort of my thoughts, my feelings, being able to control what I eat and not feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, I got 100% control over it, all because of carnivore and lion. More so probably the lion diet than even carnivore. Um, because carnivore, for example, chicken wings. I see people sometimes on carnivore going out if they're going to have chicken wings, for example, say they get to a restaurant or something and they say, "Oh, I can have chicken wings." Well, you don't know what it was cooked in. It was probably cooked in the seed oils that are
Yeah.
sitting there that cooked 1,000 other things. So if I go out to a restaurant, for example, and sometimes I do go out, I'm asking, you know, because I don't even have to eat if I go out. I could sit there and drink a cup of water with everybody, and
Yeah.
but I asked, it allows me to ask the right questions and don't feel like I ever have to give in to something as well. Or if they eat cake, you'd be surprised, although you're probably the same way. If you're out with people and they find out you're on carnivore, they try to force food on you. Oh, you need to eat this, try this cake, you know, that,
Yeah.
no, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, well, I understand because they're enjoying the drug and they want you to enjoy the drug with them. It's just like
Yeah.
drinking too. It's That's another hard part. But I found that it's easy to just say, you know what, I'm going to have my club soda. I'm fine, and move on. Well, you know that thing with impulse control, I think, is a big one, and it's A lot of people say, I want to be free to eat whatever I want. I don't want to be restricted to all this. I can't do this restriction diet. But I don't know if you feel the same way, but it sounds like you do. This way of eating has given me true freedom as opposed to being a
100%.
slave to all of my emotions and my impulses and my desires and my appetites.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I was talking to my mom and my sister about that. So my mom and my sister love vegetables and fruits. They always have. It's what they always eat. If we're out somewhere, for example, I'll come back with a lot of, not now, but I'll come back with hamburgers and French fries and stuff. They would come back with fruits and salads. But we were talking recently that but actually, I'll tell you exactly what my sister said. She said, I will never go off of the carnivore diet. And the reason is because now she feels like she has full control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got full control over it. I didn't know what full freedom was, just like you or just like me. I could go eat anything I wanted tomorrow, but I choose not to. A lot of the times I think when people are eating that stuff every single day, they're choosing not to for a day or two, if that makes sense. I'm choosing to do it for the future because I can and I feel like I don't have to have it. And it's an amazing feeling.
Well, we've talked about your physical benefits. We've talked about your mental benefits, and I don't really know if I don't remember from reading your story if you're a person of faith of any kind. But have you noticed any benefits in your spiritual life, if that might regard this?
Yeah, so I'm a born again Christian, and from my standpoint, it's interesting. I had prayed before years ago, off and on, to say, hey, I've got to get myself on track. Please help me. Because I kept falling off the wagon, if you want to call it, and going down the thing. And then I'd gorge myself with food and, put the weight back on and stuff like that. It has brought me closer spiritually, if that makes sense, to God. Um, and I don't know if part of that is because of the mental clarity. I don't know if it's because I believe I'm eating the way that I should be, or what it is. But yeah, it has definitely helped me.
I think a big part of it is the impulse control and the being able
Yeah.
to not let your appetite rule you like it used to rule me. I mean, my appetite for everything, not just food, appetite for sex or entertainment or whatever it was. I don't have that appetite anymore, and when I do have it, it's actually more comforting to tell it no. Like doing a fast for 24 hours or 48 hours or 36 hours or whatever it is, it's freeing to be not controlled by those things. So I'm glad to hear that you've been able to have that. One last thing I want to touch on because I know people are going to comment on it. I noticed in your earlier pictures you had short hair too. Why bald? I know mine is completely my choice. I chose to shave my head because I was tired of hiding behind the long hair and the long beard. I didn't feel like I had to hide a double chin anymore. But I was curious about yours. Is it just the military lifestyle, or did it already fall out, or were you losing it before? I mean, we're both in our 50s, or we're at that age when people start losing their hair anyway. I think that's a lot of people on carnivore are already older. A lot of people on my channel are 50s, 60s, and 70s. So, yes, they're losing their hair.
Yeah, it's a good question. So early on, it started to thin out a little bit, but it was still okay. I still had hair. And then as it started to thin out a little bit, I thought, I'm just shaving it. And I shaved it probably, oh, I don't know, it's probably 10 years, 15 years, 10 years now, maybe 11, I don't know, somewhere in there. And I've never let it grow back. I don't know. It's so easy. I love it. I feel good the way that I am. I
Me
feel good in
too.
my own skin. And it's easy to maintain, I love it the way it is. If I grew it back, I don't know how it would grow back. Although if I don't shave it every couple of days, it starts to grow back. And I
Yeah.
compensate it with a little bit of a goatee. And probably much like you is, you know, I mean, I hate to say this, right? When people hit their 50s or that age, give or take, they're starting to sort of try to find themselves again. Some people go through midlife crises. Now, my hair was done before that. But even with some of the tattoos and stuff that I have, I was in the Marines, I've got tattoos, but even in the pictures I sent you, I think there's probably some pictures that don't have some of the tattoos. So I started adding that, trying to define who I am. And I thought, I don't want to be who the world wants me to be or who I think people want me to be anymore. I'm going to be who I want to be. And
Yeah.
so, along with the carnivore diet and stuff, it has given me, um, it's allowed me to see who I am and who I want to be, and get full control over my life, which is the first time ever. You mentioned fasting, by the way. I just did a 72-hour fast, and I'm getting ready to do another one here. And it was amazing that even at the end of the 3 days, I thought, I could keep going. I just
Yeah.
decided because when I started, I was only going to do three. It's funny when you tell people that they think, well, why would you not eat? You're gonna, but it's amazing the control that you have over your body and your mind, um, with the carnivore and with the lion diet. It is, and it's freeing.
Getting back to the hair, one of the things I like is I don't have to pay a barber anymore, so that's a nice thing. I have thought about letting mine grow out just for the channel's purposes, but it's like every time it starts to grow, I look at it and I'm like, no, I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not, plus it's a little itchy when it starts growing out, so I don't want to. But one of these days, I may have to do it just so I can show people if it's changed or not. I was talking to Lisa Pickert, Coach Lisa Pickert, in a recent video, and she talked about how any diet change is going to cause you to have some hair changes initially. So
Ah.
whether it's going vegan or going carnivore or going something else, just
Hmm.
changing your diet overall can have cause you to change your hair growth, but eventually it changes back. And I've noticed that my hair is still dark even though I'm in my 50s. I had some gray going into my 40s, but it hasn't really changed any. When I shave and I look in the sink, it doesn't look gray. It looks dark brown. And that to me is amazing. So I just thought I would bring that out since we're both bald and a lot of people ask about that. But you mentioned you'd been doing it for 11 years and you've only been doing carnivore for a year and a half. So just one of those points that I like to point out for the folks who have those questions. Is there any things that you would like to say to anybody who might have been in a position that you were in when you started this that you'd like to end this up with?
Yeah, anybody that's considering doing carnivore, um, there's a learning process there. There's a process where you start listening to videos and watching videos, and then you're questioning everything that you knew, from when we were kids growing up about, eat everything on your plate or eat your veggies or, that type of stuff. So there is a learning process, but I can tell you what, it's super simple: beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and that's how you start it, and everything else is out the door. It's the best thing that I ever did, and I would recommend to anybody to sort of step over, get off the fence and step into it and try it for 30 days. That's how I started. I said, I'm going to do this for 30 days, and if it helps my inflammation and my dementia going on, if it helps that, then great. If it doesn't, all right, I haven't lost anything. And probably 2 weeks into it, I started feeling much better. And I thought, wow, okay. When I hit the 30-day mark, at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna go another 30 days, maybe 90 days, and just keep going. And now it's a lifestyle, it's forever. But it started with just making a small commitment to myself to go 30 days and just to see what happens. And it was the best thing I ever did. I highly recommend that you give it a shot and try it.
What would you say are some key beginner tips for somebody who is switching to a carnivore diet?
So you're switching fuel sources, right? You're switching from carbs and glucose to basically ketones. And there is the adaptation period, or whatever you want to call it. It's, oh, I don't know, maybe a week to 3 weeks for most people. I had it severe. I ended up in the bathroom. I ended up with headaches. I ended up with, flu-like symptoms, back pain. I guess it was from oxalate dumping and stuff potentially as well, where I felt like my kidneys hurt. And I kept watching the videos. I almost gave up, by the way, probably 2 weeks into it. And I was watching a video from somebody, I don't remember where, and they said, just keep going, because that will get better. And then I was able to get over that threshold. For me, it was somewhere between around the 2 week mark, maybe the 3 week mark. And and it was amazing on the other side. It was almost like you crossed over that rainbow. But I do think some of the things that I've seen help people is, making sure you're getting enough food is one of them, obviously, because sometimes in our minds we think, hey, I'm eating too much fat or things like that, especially in the beginning because you're figuring it out. Getting your electrolytes, your salt, your magnesium, potassium and stuff like that is key because I think that helps with that transition period.
Absolutely.
But yeah, but not giving up is really the big thing. It's a mindset. It's like anything. I thought I can do anything for 30 days, and so it's that mindset because I mean, look, here's you and me talking about it, but there's thousands of videos out there that you can watch of people that um, got through that transition period. For me, that was the toughest thing. With that being said, my sister went through when she started it, not one bad symptom at all. I was kind of jealous. She had, I mean, for her, it was super simple. For me, the beginning was really, really, really hard. And I do know there's a lot of people also, too, that their family, whether it's family or friends, try to discourage them going on to carnivore as well, which I think can be hard. For me, I've got a very strong personality, so I didn't care what anybody else thought. Um, so, but if they have that as well, I think they need to move past that. Whether that means that they have to make their own meals and whoever else is in their family or whatever make their own meals. If you can get past that, just like my sister and my mom and my girlfriend and my brother-in-law, and there's a whole bunch of people once they saw the benefits that it was doing to me, they followed along. It was the same people that were saying, "Hey, you got to be careful. You shouldn't be doing this." And but they realized that they were wrong as well, or taught wrong, I should say, and they followed right along. So hopefully that helped somebody out.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. What about when their doctor tells them you shouldn't be doing that? Because
So
sometimes
my
their doctors
doctor,
will.
My doctor is still telling me that. So I went in for blood work recently, and all my blood work was perfect, cholesterol and everything. And the doctor said, "Well, what did you do to lose so much weight?" I never brought it up to my doctor because I just didn't want to hear. I didn't want to get into it with him. And when I told him, he was, "Oh no, you can't do that. This is bad for you. You got to go. You got to get off of red meat. You need to start eating your veggies and your fruits and stuff like that." He said you need to eat like lean fish, stuff like that. And and I basically said, "Hey, with all due respect, listen, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. So if I die this way, I'm happy, which I'm not gonna. But you know, now earlier on." I sort of avoided the conversations personally just because I didn't want to go down that road with him. I already knew where he stood on nutrition. He's the guy that he was a lean guy, if that makes sense, but he was the guy that always pushed, you got to eat small meals, low carb or watch your calories, that type of thing. But I've seen a lot of people where their doctors are overweight as well, trying to give the advice. Well, if the advice was so good and it worked, why aren't they fit and why aren't they happy and stuff? And Dr. Ken Berry, I think, said it best. I was watching a video of his a while back, and I forget how overweight he was, but he was overweight during his residency and stuff like that. And he said he was out there giving advice to people because that's what he was taught,
Yep.
from the medical association, I guess, giving advice to people, but he wasn't living it himself. So how could somebody else take it if he can't live it himself, So I personally think that the doctors, I think they have great intentions. They go into the profession to help and make people better and all that stuff. I think Big Pharma gets a hold of them. They're taught what Big Pharma teaches them, if that makes sense, and which is
Hmm.
to supply their drugs, to give them drugs and never get them off. And I think until a doctor, and there's a lot of doctors online, Dr. Anthony Chafee or Sean Baker or all these guys that see the light, if you want to call it, and then all of a sudden they change and now they're saying the right thing. So I think doctors, a lot of them don't know. I had a nutritionist the other day because my doctor didn't like my answer with that I'm carnivore. She set me up with a nutritionist. And I just decided, hey, I'll talk to the nutritionist for fun. I told the nutritionist what I was doing, and she said, as a licensed nutritionist, so she's licensed evidently, as a licensed nutritionist, she said, I have to advise against that diet. And she told me what I should be doing. I didn't get into it with her much, but that's what she was taught. She was taught the
Yeah.
same thing that we were all taught. Whether she knows differently or not, I don't know. But so doctors are not always right. And sometimes taking your own health into your hands, I think, is the best thing in this case.
As you mentioned, Dr. Barry, he said something about doctors when I saw him up in Yuma. He said, doctors are just dudes and chicks. They're just like us, just men and women. And they've got a regimen that they've been told to follow. Like most systems that have become corrupt, like our medical system
Mm,
has, Good people go into it with good intentions and they're forced down certain pathways because if they don't follow the rules, they can be ostracized. It's very
Mhm.
political within that system. They can be, cut out of their practice even, or not be able to come up to work at the hospital. And then also situations like yours, I bet you see a VA doctor, I assume.
Yes.
So you really don't have a lot of choice over which doctor you get. You can't just
Yep.
fire your doctor, so it makes it a little bit tougher. And these systems that we have that are corrupted are corrupting the people that are in them. And they may not even know it. It's easy to be lazy and just follow what you've been taught. And, because as long as I do what I was told to do, everything's going to be fine and the money keeps coming in. But it's those doctors that take the time to listen to people who have gone through what you and I have gone through and look at the health situation, look at the blood work, look at the results, and say, maybe I need to rethink this. Am I in this just to make money and pull the line? Or am I in this to actually get people healthy? And I can understand also why they wouldn't want to make people healthy. They want people coming back every 4 months, every three
Yeah.
months, because that's their cash cow. And it's kind of sickening to watch. But I pray for people that are in the medical profession because I know that there are some that are coming around like Dr. Barry had and like Dr. Chafee and many others that are willing to put their license on the line to speak the truth. We need more truth in this country, and I hope that your
Uh,
story encourages some of them, as I hope my story encourages some of them. I want them to be on our side. I don't want to be adversarial with the doctors that are in the system, but I do have an adversarial attitude toward the system itself. And I'm hoping that we'll see some changes in that area. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for coming on the show and sharing your story. Where can anybody find you? Are you on social media at all? Do you have a YouTube channel or Instagram or Facebook or anything like that? Or
I'm,
this is
I'm
what
on
they get?
This is what they get. Although I'm on Facebook, if anybody has a question, they can just look me up there. But I don't have YouTube channels or anything like that. I love talking to people about carnivore, but I leave it up to you guys, like people like you, to get out there and tell your story to everybody and the social media and stuff like that. But you can find me on Facebook if anybody ever has a question. And I love what you're doing for carnivore, Dante, because I don't know if this was your plan going into it or not, but it's reaching a lot of people. Like I said, it was instrumental in me getting started, and even the transition to the lion diet. I thought, well, this guy's doing it. All right, let me watch this. What's he doing? And it's where I get, well, not just me. It's where most people, I think. Excuse me, sorry about that. It's where most people, I think, get a lot of their information. They watch a video and then another video, and so I appreciate everything you're doing. It's made a huge difference in my life, as well as a lot of my friends and family's lives.
Well, thank you. It's things like that that really keep me going because all the editing and all this stuff that I got to do to all behind the scenes. See, I love this part, talking to people and sharing that, but all the behind the scenes stuff. Oh, and dealing with affiliates and things that I have to do, because I'd like to be able to do this full time, but it's really knowing that it's making a difference in people's lives that keeps me pressing on, and I hope that I can just ease more suffering out there. So thank you for pointing that out, and thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And for everybody watching, thank you for joining us. I'd love to hear your comments below. Please let us know what you think. If you're thinking about doing a carnivore diet, does this help you move in that direction? If you've been doing a carnivore diet for a while, let me know what your thoughts are. And if you'd like to be in a conversation like this, you can go to my website at ferignofreedom.com, just like Nick did. Submit your story there on the Your Story tab, and I'll reach out to you, and then we can talk about what it's done for you, and hopefully more people out there will be inspired to change their lives on a carnivore way of eating. So again, Nick, thanks for being here. Thanks everyone else, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
Hey folks, real quick, I wanted to come talk to you about one of the keys to my carnivore diet that has made it such a success for me, and that's good clean salt. And today I'm talking about Redmond Real Salt, and it is just the best tasting salt I've ever had. I have their smoked salts. This is one of my favorites, the cherry smoked salt. I even use their earth powder, which is great for keeping your teeth clean. If you're interested in getting some Redmond salt, go to my link in the description or just go to redmond.life and use my discount code Dante and you'll save 15% on your order.